All right. Ooh, wrong shot. Oh well, that's the way that goes. Let me move. Here we go. Go to, that. There I am. Hey guys, evening. I see Paul and Sean are here. Welcome. Already getting into the stuff. USB and whatnot. Let's see. USB MIDI is terrible. Thank you, Paul. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know about SynthDrive. So anyway, yeah. Like I said last week about USB MIDI, I don't know if Behringer is on the Windows 11 driver stack or the old Windows previous driver stack, but you know, it is a thing. Windows USB MIDI is terrible, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm using 5-pin MIDI here wherever I can, which means basically the controllers are using USB. Any hardware instruments are on 5-pin. Which isn't really a whole lot. And actually there's one controller that's on 5-pin, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So, oh, hey Andy, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for swinging in. So we're gonna go real quick then. Let's get into what was in the jam. In the background quietly is right now. Let's go ahead and jump over to, oh, let's see. That sounds good, or looks good. So let's see, what was in the jam? Coming up first in the first track, Pigments, with a modification of basically a simple sawtooth, 2-sawtooth pad with some noise added. So there's a saw here doing a thing, running through a couple of filters. Filters are moving around. I've also got some phase transform modulating a little bit, and some slight folding going on that a little bit. The second one is just some phase modulation going on the sawtooth. And let's see, some unison. I guess I got unison on both probably. Yeah, unison on both. And then just a noise patch. It just comes, you know, a noise sample wanders in and out now and again. So that's what's the first one up. Up next, we're still using Willow here from the contact instrument, Willow. Didn't really fool anything with that, except there was some modulation that was recorded in the track that wasn't supposed to be there in the past, so I took that out tonight. So that's making this noise. Let's get the pad out of the way. This does weird stuff with aftertouch. And then of course the XY does its thing. See if I can get it picked up. There we go. Okay, and the next track I've got Ultra being driven by Stepic. And a little bit different this time. I've got it set so it will so it'll arpeggiate based on the root note that I'm playing, just for a little more interest. Yeah, there's really not much else to do. I mean, it's really the only thing you would want to do on the Neutron anyway, in my opinion, too. You know, just control it via MIDI and move on. So I changed this patch a little bit from last time in the one that's in Ultra. Let's go ahead and get that up on full screen real quick. So basically, I went and did some more modulation stuff with it. And did I? Yeah, I got macros assigned now. So I think, yeah, I did this right. So I can drive filter cutoff. I go back to this actually. Let's see that there. So got filter cutoff on macro 1, which is controlled by X on the pad. And then I've got some cross mod going on the Y-axis. And there's some stuff going on with the pad we'll talk about. But next up, Vital is playing a bass patch through a bunch of effects. And let's see, let's go into the plugin page. So I've got filter control with the XY, except I'm driving there. Right, there it goes. And so the Vital patch is going through. It's the same, basically the same patch I made up last week. And then that's running through the Arturia delay tape 201, which then runs through Eventide's Temperate's Light for some tuned reverb. And then that's running into Beam, which, come on, load up. There we go. And this is an interesting Beam patch that I put together. It has the new bismuth module doing a D minor, basically locking its harmonics to D minor. I'm also passing the signal through a filter module, kind of a modulated low pass thing. And then the bismuth part splits out, goes through bismuth, then through a multi-tap echo. This is almost Celebrity Row here, because this is one they did with Van Jordan, and this is one they did with Virtual Riot. And then the stock space reverb at the end of that chain. And then the only other thing that's in this chain, I believe, let's get these out of the way, is I've got a tool just to getting a little bit of gain, and then that goes into my mono bass custom filter, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, that I did in the grid. Okay, so that's that track. Take 5 lead. and that is running through a granular delay built to the combination of the standard delay and or the delay plus and a granulator that's built in the grid. This is something I found as part of the Bitwig package. It's not something I did. I'm not that far along just yet. So after that, we've got the modular. With a little modification to last week's patch. I don't know what that ticking was. And then the next one we're going to talk about in some detail a little bit later. But this basically uses the XY instrument container to combine four different synths into one patch that you can move between. All right, so that essentially is what was in the jam tonight. So let's see. Let me catch up with chat because you guys have been going on and on and on and on. So let's see. Go back. Wow, you guys have been talking a lot. Let's see. Dual fit switch thing. None of your devices can talk to it. That's not helpful. Let's see, simple sustain pedals more effective. So there used to be a company, and they're gone now, unfortunately. But they did some interesting things with foot switches. They had dual foot switches with a single pedal, which were pretty useful things. And you could buy them either both outputs normally open, one normally open, one normally closed, or both normally closed, which was pretty useful. Lately, I've just been using standard foot switches. Yeah. Let's see. I had them. I had a couple of those things, and I stopped having the need for the dual outputs, so I cut the dual outputs off. I just have a single out now, and it's a honking pedal that was really nice. Let's see. We talked about Paul's neutron, chopped oxygen, sustained pedal, 3-step 37. You don't necessarily have to use the keyboard even if it's in front of you. You can use it just as a controller or an interface and whatnot. I mean, you know, when I'm doing the jams, I've got a key step 37 over here I rarely use, except to act as it's currently acting as my MIDI to CV converter. Sean, thank you about the sounds. I appreciate it. I'll tell you one of the most interesting gadgets that I have. It's the Blocus MIDI hub. Basically, it's a it can be either a USB interface with 4 ins or 4 outs. You can do a whole bunch of different. You can do a whole bunch of different MIDI modulations and MIDI mangulations in the thing. It's got a full MIDI processor in it, and then once you get it set up, it can be fully standalone. There's a 4x4 thing. There's 8 presets that you can call with a touch of a button on the top of it. So it's really a useful little box. And if you need to do MIDI processing for a DAW-less rig, I highly recommend it. Works really, really well. 6-pin. Let's see. Let's see. Hardware jam. That's no fun. Glitches are no fun. Let's see. So what did you, let's see, Paul went to Atomic today. Hey Danny, good to see you. And Tony, welcome. Let's see. Oh no, Tony, what he was talking about, the mirror, is basically I've got YouTube going here, and so it's delayed, and it's just so I can monitor stuff. That's all. That's all that's about. So let's see, what else? So I noticed, I saw something go by, Paul. You and Thorsten went down to Atomic today. Anything interesting down there? Of course, the comments. Where is it? Probably said something. Matrix 1000. Okay, cool. I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to sell. And I don't, selling stuff is a pain in the butt. You know, and Atomic Music is a fun place, but the problem with taking used gear someplace like that is basically they're going to look on Reverb and see what stuff is selling for and give me half of that. I really don't want to do that. And on the other hand, I don't feel like messing with Reverb or Gear Exchange or Craigslist or whatever either, because then there's shipping and all that kind of stuff involved. So, you know, I don't sell either. That's kind of a problem at the moment because I got stuff piled up here all over the place that I don't use. And I feel kind of guilty about it because, you know, I would rather somebody be getting, you know, some enjoyment out of it. Selling is hateful. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Donna's down the hall typing in from her laptop, and you know the thing is that I don't ever sell, or I very rarely sell. I have sold things. Don't get me wrong, you know, and it's always been I've always done it as a local deal, you know, so I don't have to ship. But some of this stuff, it's just, you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The biggest things that I've sold to friends. You know, it's like when I sold the Kronos, for instance, that went to a fella who I know and who gigs in bands similar to mine. The last I talked to him, he hadn't even changed any of my presets. He left the whole thing set up exactly the way I sold it to him. Well, so when I sold the photo stuff, a lot of it I put in a box and I either shipped it to one place and said, just tell me what you're going to give me for it, or I took it over to Service Photo and sold it there. So, hey, Jeff. So, you know, that was power selling, but easy because I did it mostly. I mean, a little bit of it went out on eBay or whatever, but most of it was just, you know, sold easily and quickly. And I guess the other option is I've got a closet over here out of shot that I could, right now it's full of empty boxes and junk and dust, and I suppose that I could empty that out, put some excuse me, put some proper shelves in there and, you know, just put it all in there. But that would make me sad. Yeah. Well, I do. You know, I do meet the coolest people selling stuff. You're right. But all of those were all through Facebook or a lot of those were through Facebook Marketplace, and I'm not on Facebook anymore. So anyway, that's got to be, anyway, something's got to happen because, because I bought something, you know, and so I've been having some bottlenecks. Yes, Facebook is definitely evil. Most social media these days, I think, is evil. So I've been having some bottlenecks, a couple things. I've been having some bottlenecks with the existing interface. It also requires an iPad app to set it up and run it. And the iPad that I have, that I typically have used with that, has gone past end of life. And so it's not getting security updates anymore. And there's a, you know, bad mojo iOS thing going on out there right now for devices that are, you know, iOS 17 and earlier. And that's 17's as far as that one will go. And I didn't feel like buying another iPad just to do that. So that, coupled with the bottlenecks that I've run into on the current mixer interface, has prompted me to just go ahead and do what I should have done some time ago, and went out and I ordered an Audiofuse 16 rig, and you know, using that or seeing Paul use that at his place regularly was kind of the final selling point for that. I mean, the thing works, thing sounds good, works good, you know. So that unfortunately is not here yet. It's supposed to arrive tomorrow. It's coming FedEx, so who knows when it will actually get here, but they say tomorrow. All right, Andy, have fun, you know, and enjoy your other stream. We will see you next time around. And so anyway, it's got all the ins and outs that I need. It's expandable if I need more. You know, I'll tell you, Jeff, so let me not help you with that. You know, you know, Jeff, the outputs are DC coupled, just so you know. I don't know if I'm going to use that function, at least I won't be using it, at least initially, because I will be using pretty much all of the output pairs, just to get through the night. I use right now I use a pair for monitor, the studio monitors, a pair feeds the stream, a pair feeds the Recursion Studio to audio modulate the graphics, and then another pair can go back to if I'm doing a two-way thing, I can get the audio back upstream to someone else. Yeah, and with PreSonus, you know, right now, well, of course, PreSonus got gobbled up by Fender, and everything has been rebranded to Fender. So anyway, so you know, this is expandable. I can drop a couple of ADAT expanders off it if I need to, and they're not expensive. So you know, but right now it's 16 inputs. Is all that I need. It's the only place that I might need to expand down the road is on outputs, and there may be other ways around that in the Mac space to deal with that. So So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll be able to get it all set up and working before next week. Well, yeah, if you've got the, well, I guess it does 1 ADAT. I got an O1 V96. Actually, it's sitting out in the living room right now. I got one of those sitting here too. And if I had, if my O1 V96 were the I would have quite simply long ago just set that on a stand here and hung 2 ADAT I/O boxes off of it. Gotten the expander for that because that wasn't very expensive, and just used that. But it's not the I. So Asaph, good to see you. Welcome. So anyway, this is coming tomorrow, and you know, it does all of the standard interfacing functions, so I can, you know, talk to stuff through Bitwig easily. And then the other thing is it's got a really fantastic piece of software that comes along with it for all of the stuff for routing and mixing, and you know, so it can be a complete mixer as well as an audio interface. And this app runs on the Mac, so it can sit in the background behind Bitwig if I need it to be there. So anyway, that's like I say, coming tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Tearing the studio apart again, putting things back together. Let's see what else. Also in studio, let's see. Paul says, "Oh, so your ADAT expander is DC coupled too. That's cool." You know, this, I supposedly have loopback in this thing, but I've never been able to get it to work. The last time I was able to get loopback to work correctly on an audio interface was an old M-Audio box that I got with for using with Pro Tools. No, I'm not getting a bigger HDMI matrix. At least I'm not planning to. Although, well, yeah, I didn't get a chance to get a screen grab of that the other thing. So I mentioned the Recursion Studio, which is what does the background graphics and the whatnot. Right now, it's not doing a whole lot. It's doing just some swirly audio reactive stuff. I went simple tonight, but there's a new version of the Recursion Studio coming out, and it's going to be simply amazing. I think I might have linked it below. Can't remember if I did or not. But anyway, that's it's pretty cool. Back to okay. So yeah, maybe I don't know. The way I might go with that is Half God, welcome. The way I would probably deal with that is make the new Recursion Studio the master, and then loop my old one through it, because the new one's got a dedicated HDMI input for doing video mixing, and yeah, it is super exciting, Jeff. I mean, it's really very cool, and it steps up the game on video processing a good deal. So I'm looking at trying to figure out how to deal with that at some point. So let's see. Anyway, I'm sure there's going to be a chime in from down the hall on that. Yeah, so Jeff and I were basically watching the live stream on it yesterday, typing back and forth furiously on Discord. So it was very, very, very interesting. Let's see. So other upgrades here in the studio. Well, you know, she was blaming you for the last one, you know, when I bought the first one. So, let's see. Other upgrades in the studio, I finally, again, because of, you know, dying operating systems with no further support, the Chrome box that does the chat overlay is gone, and that's been replaced with another Mac Mini. It's my lucky day. Oh my. So anyway, another Mac Mini is running the chat interface now. It's a lot smoother and just as automatic. So it will also handle when we do Gallium-Offray events, or if I do something where I'm using any kind of remote, talking to somebody on remote, it'll handle the feedback video from that really nicely. Did some, well, thank you, hon. I appreciate that. I do have, I've got to say, I have the best Minister of Finance in the entire world. So, none of this would honestly be as possible as it has been without her support. So, thank you, Donna. Let's see. So, anyway, so another new Mac Mini. So the studio is now, or once after tomorrow, there'll only be one iPad and it's current in the studio. Everything else in here is on a full-fledged Mac now. And I'll tell you, it is, for those who don't use Macs, there are just simple things about Macs that make life pretty wonderful or pretty amazing, and that is that, you know, it's just simple things like the integration between in the entire Mac or Apple ecosystem is just so tight, you know. And it's like I do a copy of something on, as simple as a copy of an image or something on the main Mac, it's instantly available for paste on the other two Macs. Like right now, Jeff and I are involved with another fellow who's been on this, you've seen on the stream on occasion, Quasar, and we're developing an app. And you know, so we've been doing a lot of testing, and I can do screen grabs of what's going on my computer and dump them into chat. So I do the screen grab on the main Mac, and then I turn around on this Mac and type into the chat and paste the whatever screen grab or whatever I've done right into the conversation, and I don't even have to, you know, there's very little futzing around to deal with that. So it's really, really, really fluid that way. We'd have to put, so I'm not sure what Donna would make of one of our jams, Paul. I'm not sure what she would make of it. We'll see, maybe. And if she can't deal with it, she can go shopping somewhere nearby. Anyway, let's see what we got here. What's going on? Okay, so he's not here tonight, but I'm not sure what to make. I think Steve Mixmaster wanted me to add a whammy bar to my keyboard. I was talking about a couple of different whammy bars, and quite frankly, I decided I'm not gonna to crank a whammy bar on here. That's what the pitch bend knob is for, or wheel is for, pitch wheel is for. So, you know, I've got that on there already. No, not that. No, so Donna, it's, I'm not saying shop, like go shopping. No, there are, I mean, Paul's down in Ellicott City, so there are places that you would like to go to look at, you know, things that you do, supplies for things that you do, that you don't ordinarily wander off to. So, you know, it's not that sexist bullshit thing. It's a different kind of thing. So anyway, I better move on from that quickly before I get myself in any more trouble. So let's see. We were talking last week, or a couple of weeks ago. Nice recovery. Thanks, hon. We were talking last week about, came into some discussion about NKS and what NKS is. And that it would become a standard. And I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about how NKS fits into the software MIDI world. So I think I've got the right graphic patched up here. Did I notate that? Yes, I did. So I'll just go ahead and put up the graphic. There we go. And we'll get chat out of the way for the moment while I do that. So the question is, what is NKS? And so basically NKS is an integration system that's designed to do a better job of tying hardware and VSTs together and make them, and as it's progressed, we've gotten to the point of it being interoperable from different hardware manufacturers and different software houses. So in my case, I use the, I wonder if this is going to work. In my case, I do the, that's what I want. So in my case, we've got the Native Instrument, I use the Native Instruments Control S, now with Bitwig, talking to a variety of software. And I have the capability of having, let's do this. I want to get the right shot here. This will work. So I have the controls for whatever I'm playing right down here. So this is a combination of function of the way NKS works in certain cases, and I don't have any specific NKS apps loaded, but the mapping is basically automatic. So that allows me complete control over an instrument. And like I said, I don't have any specific ones in the show tonight. I should have set that up, but well, I can show you. You know, I'll just go ahead and show you how this works. So if I want, you know, the full Monty, so to speak, of control. Actually, I do have one set up. So if I want the full Monty of control of this thing, the instrument gets loaded into the appropriate wrapper. Now this is a contact instrument, so let's go ahead and pull that up on screen. And so I have here on my keyboard, I've got control of pretty much everything, honestly. Whatever in this case the folks at Ocean Swift have given me. They've given me 4 pages of mixer controls, essentially. So I've got, you know, volumes for all of these guys. I've got tuning for all of these guys, and and there's other things I could do too, but and other with other instruments, there's different sets of controls that I would have. So I could set up another one. It doesn't take long. Let's see if I go in here. And let's go ahead and add a new MIDI track or new instrument track, and I will go for a plug-in. And to make it easy, I will go to Native Instruments and I will grab Complete Control, which will take a moment to load up. And once that comes up and I say, okay, and I load its interface, I can now browse all of the compatible instruments that are on on my system. And I can either browse them through the software, or I can browse them down here on the keyboard itself. Put chat back in. Okay. All right, I'll fool with that. Thanks, Jeff. So let's, for instance, go with just something easy to deal with. We'll go ahead and we're going to add, so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to add augmented voices. So I would click that here. That tells me presets that I've got available. I'll just grab the first one. It previews the preset. And so now I have the synth on screen. I also have it, it's a little hard to see because the exposure is kind of wonky. Let's see if this will break if I do this. Oh, I gotta set the cam to cam. All right, this may go black for a second. Yep, it certainly did. Okay. All right, so you can see on the display of the keyboard, I've got the graphic that shows it. And I have here the primary controls that are available to me. So I've got the morph control. So if you play this, you know, let's make that stop. That looks really strange. So I can use the knob here. It's automatically mapped because of the NKS standard. And I can morph between those two things. I can adjust whatever controls are available. These are kind of standardized on these augmented series. And some of what this is doing, you kind of need headphones for. Not the best patch to use either, unfortunately. But I don't like this patch. Let's try a different patch. I just browse, you know, and find something different. That one sounds interesting. So again, I got the controls. Need a little more volume. So anyway, so this is, you know, an Arturia plugin on Native Instruments software and hardware. I guess Jeff, do you remember what you did to fix the double highlighting thing? Well, and that's another thing, Sean, with the way at least this keyboard works, and most of them are the same now as far as controllers are concerned. You know, between this and this works better in Bitwig than it did in Ableton, but you know, I can do all kinds of custom mappings too. Like I can just go in here and get into. I'm still learning how to do a lot of this, but I can go ahead and I can say, you know, I can do a page of remotes, and I can say I want one to be macro 1, this one's macro 2, macro 3, macro 4, You know, and I've got the 4 macros now from Pigments right here, and if I pop Pigments on there, my macros are right there automatically. And I don't know what I have on the macros for this. Maybe nothing. So if I go into Pigments itself, the macros aren't mapped to anything. So I can take this macro and I can map it to cutoff of both filters as an example. So now if I turn macro 1, and I could, for instance, do macro 2. Let's say I want macro 2 to control my envelope, amp envelope attack. So I could do that over there, and I want to make it shorter as I turn it up. So I just do that there. So now macro 2. And of course you can't see the full keyboard, but yeah, I don't, you know, Paul, it's not just Pigments either. It's like a lot of VST synths now have great macro systems that you could do all kinds of really cool things with, and nobody uses them. It's like I don't get that. You have that functionality and that control. Why not use it? You know, there's a couple preset authors out there that are doing a good job of it, but you know, but they seem few and far between. But anyway, NKS is really, yeah, I guess so, Tony. But NKS really takes this ability to map things around to a very high level. So let's see, back to here. Oh, that. So the thing with NKS is it's an enhancement to existing VST. And there are slowly, you know, people are slowly starting to develop NKS2 instruments which don't require contact or complete control to have full functionality of the keyboard. I think, Tony, I think it was you that was saying that NKS, you know, somewhere was saying that it was going to be, it could be the standard. But it's like I said, it's not a plug-in type of its own. It is an enhancement. That I think that distinction is important to make. That you have NKS compatible plugins from many different vendors at this point. So yeah, you know, it's like but again, so many VSTs now give us macros, and like you say, people just don't use them. I love them, especially because they allow me to do well, as the XY pad setup matures, it allows me to do a whole lot of, well, it allows me to do the morphing stuff that I really like to be able to do, and do it well. And that's what's, so I'm starting to program at least 2 macros with everything that I do. And I'm going back and adding them to some of my old presets to bring that forward so that I can use the XY pad more effectively. Speaking of the XY pad, do that. I have. I mean, you saw me when I was playing in the show open, in the jam. Oh shoot, that's not. I need the other shot. Okay. This guy. You can see I actually did surgery on my Control S, and I have mounted the XY pad in the keyboard. This was not for the faint of heart, I will say that. It was taking this apart is a terrifying thing. I won't say terrifying, but it was not the fun and exciting project that I was hoping for. I will say this: the engineering on the construction of this is very good, but it was designed to be put together, not taken apart, so taking it apart was a bit of a challenge. And I will say that, yeah, it was terrifying. It was like, oh my God, because, you know, if I screwed it up, so two things happened. Number one, I had to take the keyboard apart, which was bad enough. There's a label on the back of it that says, "Don't open it, dummy." You know, so what did I do? I took all the screws out. No user serviceable parts inside. So not only did I take it apart, but I cut big gaping holes in it all over the place. I mean, this is permanent. You know, so despite its warts, it's going to live here forever. You know, so unless I can come up with something different / better that's exactly the same size, because there's underneath it here, there's now a gaping hole in the keyboard. I had to drill out holes here. There's holes in the back where the power and MIDI port and power switch are. You know, so this controller, I guess last week I was still using it screwed to a 2x4. You know, and so you saw there was a bunch of, those who were here, you saw there's a bunch of components. This runs 5-pin DIN MIDI, and so that comes out the back of the keyboard over here, and runs off to the MIDI interface. So I will say this about it: it is good. It does the thing. It's not perfect, and I'll show you what the imperfections are here. So inside here. Oh, and I gotta say, I commented that this is, this was not designed to be taken apart. It was designed to be put together. I had, once I got all the modifications done and was ready to reassemble it, it took me like 5 minutes to reassemble the whole thing. It was the reassembly was really simple. Just the disassembly was not fun. There's so the keyboard assembly, the key bed assembly in here is a Fetar, one of the nicer ones, which I was happy to see. So let me stop the sequence on that. Let me show you sort of what goes on. Actually, let me find one of the things that's a little easier to see what's going on here, which would be Willow. Get a little more volume on that. This is a weird patch. So yeah, everything still works. I got to say that. So so this thing is very cool. Let me go back to this guy. It'll take it a minute to do it. Oh no, it took it right away. Okay, good. So with this instrument, this is an NKS instrument because it's in contact. With the XY pad, I can move the pad or the XY controller within the VST around. And I've got that mapped using the XY container or XY modulator in Bitwig. And so X I've got for left, right, Y up, down, and I put my fat finger on the pad and I can drag the thing around. And it's very good. Does a nice job. I have to put a fair, this is a resistive touchpad, so I have to put a fair amount of pressure on it to get it to work. But it does the thing. The problem comes when I let go. If I'm not real particular about the way I let go, I didn't do it very badly that time. If I'm not really particular about the way I let it go, it will sometimes jump like that. And that's a function of the fact that I have to put so much pressure on the pad to activate it, and when I deactivate it, my fingers aren't coming off perfectly straight. I've had some conversation with the fellow who developed the thing. Unfortunately, the sensitivity of the pad is not adjustable. I think if I were to have done the code on this, basically the pressure is the touched control that would be like on a Chaos pad or something like that. And so it only sends MIDI data when it's XY data when Z is active. And basically, so it sends the CC 4 touched, in my case, is 92, and CC is 92 is either 0 when not touched or 127 when touched. But I think what he did was he made the switchover point at 63, which is halfway between 0 and 127. If it were me, I would have made that switchover point between off and on much lower. That way, there's not this, jumping around stuff going on. Because if I'm only you can see if I'm not putting enough pressure on this thing, you can see that thing's jumping all over the place. And that's because it's going back and forth between released and not released and reading my last finger position badly. And, so if I've got the pressure on there, the action is very smooth. Much better, actually much smoother than the iPhone was. The iPhone was doing this jumping thing. But being the iPhone being capacitive, it picks up my finger a lot better and more precisely. So yeah, and so if again, if the curve were different, I probably wouldn't have a single problem at all. Now this thing, you got to remember, this thing was designed for guitarists, not necessarily for keyboard players. And so the angle that you're using it with on a guitar is much different. And I think it's probably in guitar, it's probably much easier. For the guitar you've got, oh shoot, I don't have a wide enough shot. You're like this, and so it's easier to get your finger on off more easily. So anyway, that's the only gripe I got about it. At some point, as I mentioned, if I can find a capacitive sensor, I might do an Arduino project. If I can find a sensor that's exactly the same size of this or very close, I might get an Arduino and do a project and then replace this with that. The holes are already cut, and all the things, the function controls that I would need are already installed. I would just reuse all the same stuff. But down the road, the other thing is, playing style may, yeah, too bad Sensei folded, exactly. That said, all the parts to do something like this are readily available from the good folks at Adafruit. You know, I did not want to spend all the time designing the thing and doing all the code for it. Was not that, I didn't want to play that game, so to speak. But so this works, and like I say, I may get to the point using it where I develop the technique, and then it won't be an issue. There's another controller out there that I talked about a 3 weeks ago. It's larger than this, and it does both CV and MIDI outputs, but it's a lot more expensive. Although, by the time I shipped this thing in from Poland, it's cost a lot more than the $100 and some dollars that it was. It was, you know, between tariffs and shipping, it was that added that added like $50 to the price, which was not fun. So let's see. I've got some other notes here. Oh, okay. So that leads nicely into what the meat of tonight's program was going to be. We've got about another 15 minutes or so. And so I have been playing with a lot more XY stuff. And let's jump over here. So one of the things I started fooling with was Bitwig has what they call they have a couple of containers that are of interest for XY. One is XY Instrument, and the other is XY Effects. So I went ahead and did a went ahead for tonight and put together an XY Instrument container setup. And actually, let's do this first. I'll show you how this works first, and then we'll play with it. So basically, the XY container, and Jeff probably already knows this pretty well, but the XY containers let you take and put in chains for each corner. Now, in the case of this, I only have one thing in each chain. Well, I actually do have more, but effectively one thing in each chain. So, like in the lower left corner down here, I have this synth sound that I did. And this is with one of the actual native Bitwig synths. And then it's got its own effects insert path, and so in there I stuck a delay. And I've got the mod wheel controlling vibrato. And if we go over to the B corner, whoops, I've got a polymer instrument. Get out of the way. And in here I've got a classic LFO that is set in polyphonic mode. Doing its thing. So you can stack all this kind of stuff up. And then I've got, out here, I've got a chorus and a reverb. And there's a different setup in the C corner, which is upper left. Basically a super saw kind of thing going on. And there's some effects hanging off of that. And then in this case, I copied this other synth that I had done and just made a bunch of changes to it. So if we're over here, so So I've got filter on aftertouch, you know, stuff like that. So the idea is then that I can use the XY controller to grab, and if you watch here, you can see the points moving around. Now I'm using the XY controller to mix between these things. So it's not true morphing, but it's a nice mix. It does a really nice job of getting some nice control and some nice expression. It's very cool. And then if I want to, the other thing I can do, let's go back to this guy. So the other thing that I can do if I want, you know, for whatever reason, I can, actually let's tighten this up, do that. So I've got those XY controls also show up as knobs here on the keyboard. So all kinds of really nice control capabilities. One of the things that I think I showed before was, I don't know if I have a track set up to do that, do it this week. Let me look real quick. If I do, it's probably this guy. No. Hang tight, guys. Let's see. At one point, I had some stuff stacked up so I could do, and I don't have it set up. I deleted that track, unfortunately. But one of the things that, well, I'll set it up again. It only takes a second. So let's use this track. So I've got XY on here. Let me turn the sequencer off. So here I'm controlling the stuff in Ultra. If I add an effect, let's say I want to add, I don't know, let's grab, I want something that if I make changes, it's going to be obvious I'm making changes. So, oh, I know what we can use. We'll use my old friend Effects Ambient. If I turn the knobs on and I come in here and I grab, actually that's not what I wanted to do, make that go away. I want to go here, that can go away, and add my XY controller, boom, that's there, okay, and I can say take X, put that on macro 1, actually let me put that over there, put that on macro 1, Y on macro 2, come on, macro 2, come on, you can do it. What did I miss here? There we go. So Y is now on macro 2. So that's now assigned the same XY setup that the same XY setup is there. So let's go back to here. So now with this, if I've got, and on the controller, I've got the selection. I can select which device in that chain is active just by tapping on it. So now I've got Ultra, and I can control those filters and that cross mod that I showed earlier. And if I come over here, oh, this is going to make a liar. What did I miss? I missed doing something here. Go back here for a second. Oh, I do have to turn those on. Let's see here. XY, just turn that on. There we go. I just got to have that source set up. So now I can control this. And I select which one I'm controlling just by tapping that. So that works great in a standard kind of chain. But if I go to, where was I working on all this? Oh, the XY instrument. If I go here, unfortunately, by default anyway, and maybe I've simply, you know what, I've probably simply missed something now that I look at this. Oh, so I can control, I can still do that same thing. So if I had it patched, I could tap on here and get into phase 4 and control something. I've got shape and modulation by default. But I can't do that from here. I actually have to click with the mouse. It doesn't pass through like it does here. If I go back to the parent, which is the XY instrument container, I don't have these buttons lit anymore. So I don't have the ability to switch. And maybe it's something I've missed, and Jeff will tell me what I've missed, because, you know, and you know what? Now that I think about it, I bet you I know what I did miss. Let's try something here. If I do this, and I do that page, nope, it's still not giving it to me. Because these guys are already tied to those controls. And without being clicked in here, I don't have them. And I don't have a way to click. I can click back, but once I'm back, I can't choose one of the other instruments. So I don't know if there's a way to add that or not. And it may be something that the folks at Bitwig have to do to the XY instrument to make that work. But, you know, that's the only caveat I've run into so far. And again, it could be something that I haven't learned how to do yet, or something that just needs to be, if I write to the good folks at Bitwig, maybe in version 6.3. Yes, the ubiquitous loopback. What I don't know is I don't know how this thing passes things down the line. So I don't know how this works, because like here, I've got stepping is turned off, but I've got a button I can control that. I've got a button for Ultra, and I've got a button for FX Ambient. And then the controls that I have mapped out for each one appear right here. Right now I've only got 2 controls mapped. And I could map more. I mean, I could go ahead and grab more macros, or any control from within this preset I could grab, or from in this synth I could grab and put in there easily enough. And the same is true with Ultra. I've got 2 controls mapped at the moment. I've got one driving this filter frequency, and the other is driving this cross mod on these macros. I got 2 more macros. So I could add those 2 macros easily enough, and they would be knobs on the controller. It's, and those pass down the line. So I don't know why the XY containers don't pass the information down the line. So again, something I'll probably suggest to the Bitwig folks, because they seem pretty receptive to getting new ideas. And then they may say they can't do it because, and I'll say, okay. So anyway, about 9:25, I've gone through pretty much everything I wanted to blather about tonight. So unless anyone's got anything, I will probably start making noise and musical noise and play out. Jeff, I don't know if Jeff is streaming tonight. He hasn't said anything. Anyway, I think that's going to about do it for me. Unless anyone's got, like I said, any questions or notes or comments. No stream from Jeff tonight. Okay. So we get to go to bed early, which is something I need to do because I'm exhausted. Yeah, that'll do me. All right, guys, thanks everybody for coming. I will catch you all next time. I don't know if, Danny, good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, back to the habit eventually. I don't know if I'm going to stream next week, it being the holiday and stuff going on. So, but just, watch out for the announcements, and hopefully I will, well, I'll let you know what's going on as soon as I know. So, again, thank you, everybody. Losing your Apple TV, why are you using your Apple TV access? Anyway, all right, guys, thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to play some music, and I will catch you all the next time I do a stream, or wherever you guys may be. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.